When I think about podcast editing, I think about two stages. The first stage, which is the crappy stage, is the cleanup. This is where we have to remove the uhs and the ums and the long pauses and just make the whole episode a little more comprehensible and digestible for our listeners. Nobody likes this stage, it takes forever. The second stage is what I like to call adding the juice. This is the fun stage. It doesn't take as long, and it's where we apply things like compression, de-essing, EQ, and especially noise reduction. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can eliminate so much time and so much of the sucky part from the first stage, and we're gonna hop into Descript, and I'm gonna show you how you can edit a podcast quick, but also very efficiently. Okay, let's get to it. Welcome to the Pod Sound School channel. I'm Studio Steve, and today we're going to hop into Descript and edit a podcast episode that has 4 speakers. This is really cool. If you haven't seen Descript, you're really going to like this. There's a lot of fun little tricks in store for this video, so make sure you stick around until the end. And before we jump into it, don't forget to hit subscribe here on this channel. We post really fun and informative podcasting videos every week. All right, so this episode comes to us from the Growing the Future podcast. This is a really great podcast that's all about agriculture and elevating your mindset and innovation. So in this episode, there's 4 speakers. Now remember I talked about the 2 different stages of podcast editing? Descript does the second stage, and it does have compression and EQing and normalizing. But if you really want to do the noise reduction and the EQing and the really professional sound effects that I'm used to using and the other sound professionals are used to using, you might need to use an additional digital audio workstation outside of Descript. And that's what I've done here. So we have a great podcast editor. His name's Augustine. We love him, and he has done a great job already, not really cleaning this up, but he applied the effects like compressors, EQ, de-essers, and all of that. And then he uploaded all 4 voices into Descript and had Descript generate a transcript from all 4 of those voices. So let's just get into this right off the bat and start mixing. I'm gonna put on my headphones. So as you can see right here, we've got what's called the script, and here is the timeline. The timeline is similar to what you would see in a common DAW. You get to see the WAV files. Only here in the main page of Descript, it's all been condensed into one timeline, which makes it a lot easier. If you ever want to see all the tracks like you would in your standard DAW, then this is a really cool quick key to memorize for Descript, and it's Shift-Command-O. Shift-Command-O will bring up all the tracks, as you can see, like they look on a DAW. So I've got all the 4 speakers here. Basically, the best way to do the cleanup process of editing a podcast is to just listen through it all. And if you don't really listen through it all, you're likely going to miss things. But Descript has made catching the mistakes a lot easier. So because I already had Augustine work on this and catch the main big mistakes and sort of clean up just the beginning and trim the end out and put the bulk of the episode together, now all we have to do is sort of find the filler words or the long pauses, and Descript actually does that for you. If you look right here, it is underlined this so. If we continue to scroll down, you'll see that it is underlined I don't, because I don't was repetitive. It's underlined on the because we had some repetitions there. So rather than listen through the whole episode, really all I need to do is go through and check all these underlines. Alternatively, if you wanted to, you could have Descript just remove all those filler words for you by coming up here to your composition, clicking on these 3 dots, and saying remove filler words, which we see right here. And that will show you all the filler words, and you have the choice to ignore them or delete them. If I were to do this method, which I sometimes do if I'm in a bind, I would say ignore. That allows you to still see them on your script, but they've just been deleted or removed from your timeline down here, which is really great. So I'll just hide that, and I'll actually come back here into my timeline, and I'm going to start listening to this. Now, this is my favorite feature from Descript. I love it to death, and it is the playback speed. You can easily play back in 2 times speed, and they recently just added 3 times speed, which is insane, so time saving. Although the 3 times speed is almost incomprehensible, so I like to keep it at 2 to start with, and I just start listening through it to see the flow, to catch the flow, and see how it sounds.
All right, so here we are with another edition of Growing the Future podcast with my sidekick Holden, and very excited to have...
Now, I really like to prioritize the first little, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of the podcast episode to really progress the story. So I usually am a little picky with the first 2 minutes, and then I'll just go through and grab all of the filler words and do that final check with the filler words. So what I mean by a little picky is, since he's just starting the episode here and Terry's introducing everyone. I like to get a little picky with these spaces here. What's really cool with Descript here is you can get picky with these spaces and just kind of highlight a little bit of his pause there and press the delete key, and it deletes that space for you. And so I would also do that right here. Highlight this little area down on the timeline and press delete, and that closes the gap of those long pauses a little bit. There's also a way to auto detect the long pauses and to tell Descript to delete pauses by a certain selection of time. But that's not something that I need to do here because I'm only going to do it for the first couple minutes. So then I just go down and let's see why Descript is telling us this "so" is a filler word. So I'll go a little bit before this filler word and I'll press the tab key.
Organization since 2009. So
I don't think that's going to be a big deal. And if you didn't really catch what I'm kind of have gotten used to listening to it at double speed, but if that double speed's ever too fast for you, just go back 1x speed and come here and press tab again and listen to
organization since 2009. So
I think the "so" is fine there, so I'm going to leave that there. Now let's listen to this double "I don't." I'll hover down here and press the tab key.
6 years, I don't remember, a long time.
So I think that "I don't" would be perfectly fine to delete. Now, when I'm deleting something, I also like to check the right "I don't" to delete. Sometimes the second "I don't" will be easier to delete without making it sound unnatural. And that's why I like to manually check these rather than have Descript do it for me, because it doesn't always catch the right one, or sometimes it's really hard to cut out a word. You have to leave it in there. So then I would just highlight this from the timeline up here and press delete, and now that's gone, which is great. I also have options where I could give a bigger crossfade than the automatic crossfade that Descript already gives, and I can really fine tune that cut I made there. But what I usually do is I just listen back to the cut real quick and make sure that it sounds natural.
For 6 years, I don't remember, a long time anyway, so we went through.
That's great. And I love taking those out because it just really speeds the episode along and keeps it more intelligible and comprehensible for our listener, provides a better experience for our listener. So here we are at 2x speed. I'm going to continue down and basically just rinse and repeat this process. I'm going to do a couple more of these real quick. Let's just check this on the.
Mentioned we're all on the board together, organized.
I think that "on the" would be great to delete. So I highlight it and I check. Now you see how this "on the" is sort of attached to "we're all on the"? Well, I want to just kill this. I think this "on the" would be a better one to kill because it's not attached to anything. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it and press delete. And now let's have a listen to that.
As we mentioned, we're all on the board together, organized on the board.
Great. And I know that's going to sound good. And like I said, I'm very used to the 2x speed and you'll get used to it as well. It didn't like this "and" because there's two ands. Let's see why. We'll click on this "and," and then I take a look down here. Now these ands, both of these ands are kind of connected to other words around them. You can see by just looking at the waveform. So let's just try cutting out this "and" that it wanted us to cut out and see what it sounds like. So I'll come back here to this word.
Farming and any other business for that matter. Not everyone initially.
Yeah, and this double "not" here, let's see if we can kill that "not." I think we'll be able to get rid of that "not." And you can see I can come down here, and with the "so's," sometimes I like the "so's. I think they're sort of a natural part of our conversation. So let's listen to this "so."
So Heather, why don't you share a little bit about why you're passionate about?
See, without that "so," it wouldn't be as natural for him to transition into the question that he's asking the guest. So here we go for "kind of." Descript will catch "kind ofs" because a lot of people say kind of is a crutch but it's also a descriptive word sometimes. So I don't always like to take them out. I like to try to hear the reference that's going on in the podcast.
So I think there's a
episode.
tendency to kind of take for granted that the business management stuff.
Kind of take for granted because she wants to say she's being a little easy on it, right? Like not take advantage, but kind of take advantage or take for granted. So I'm going to leave that one there. So the reason I love it that Descript catches the "kind ofs" is because "kind of" can be kind of an uncertainty in our speech. So when we're making a statement, we've gotten used to using "kind of" in our speech, but it makes us seem not as certain about what it is we're saying. So it is fun to cut them out because it makes your guest sound more confident. This is basically what I'll do. You'll see what I'm doing here. I don't need to walk through this whole episode with you, but I do want to show you two other really cool things that I love about Descript that we're going to do with this episode. The first one is as I go through this, Descript makes it really easy to copy and paste sections. So as you're going through this, you can find your stinger, or that's like a little teaser, a little piece that was a really good spot from your episode that you might want to put in front of your episode, and then have the intro music come in and then let your episode play out after that. So Descript makes it really easy to sort of find that teaser, or you can even highlight things. So let's say if this part right here that she was saying was just really cool, it'd be a perfect teaser. I don't have to copy it right off the bat. I can just highlight it. And then this, I know as I go through it again, like, oh, that's going to be one of my teasers I'm going to use later. And then if I wanted to actually use this as my little stinger, as my little teaser, I can just press Command C. And then I come up here into this window over here and uncollapse this. And here I could say add new composition. And here I could just say as highlights, make a little highlights reel over here, and then just press Command V, and it just pops in that one highlighted part. So as I'm going through the episode, I can copy and paste highlight. And the other really cool thing you can do with highlights is turn them into an audiogram right in Descript. So let me show you how to do that. First, I'm going to come here and I'm going to unhighlight this, so I don't need to see that highlighted. Let's say this is the bit that I want to make an audiogram out of. Descript has 90% accuracy with its transcripts, but if there's a problem with the transcript, you can come up here to where it says Edit Media and change this to Correct Text. And this allows you to correct the text without messing with the timeline or the audio itself, which is great. So if you needed to uppercase things or work with the punctuation or the spelling, anything that you need to change, you can do that. But I'm going to come back here to Edit Media because I'm just going to leave this out as for this illustration. And then here I just say Share. And from Share, I can come to Publish. And from Publish down here, you can see that it is already set up to do one of the tricks that I love to do. You'll notice there's a green background. They have different templates in Descript. I love this one because it highlights the words, and I just love how this looks on a audiogram. I love this one too. But what I've done is I've come down here, and the accent color is actually a brand color of a client, which is why I have that one loaded in. But I've also loaded an image for the background, and that's a green square. The reason I do that is I get really fancy with my audiograms, where I'll actually take this file that Descript makes for me, and I'll put it inside of Adobe Premiere and remove the green background. And then I have a really highly customizable audiogram that I can use. So that's a really fun trick. There's so much you can do, but let's say I didn't want that background. I just wanted to use my brand color and use the audiogram as Descript would make it for me, so that I have these really cool little pieces to share on social media. Look how cool that is. And it's playing her audiogram for her. So I wanted to show you one other thing. Since I'm already collaborating with Augustine and I'm collaborating with Dan, the host of this podcast too, I can share this Descript with him, which I do. And I share this Descript with Augustine, and they both have their own Descript account. So as we're going through this, we also like to take bits and pieces out of this interview and turn it into video. And Descript can actually edit video too, which is really great. But let's say we wanted to also take notes of maybe I don't like this part, or this chunk right here that we highlighted. I can come over here and add a note to it by coming up here to where it says comment, and I can click on that, and it will allow me to make a comment here. So if I hover all the way over to the right, I'll see that I have this window right here that says show comment sidebar, and that will show me comments that have been made. So you can see Augustine has already, as he was editing it, made some audiogram ideas and some video ideas that he thinks would make for a good YouTube video, so that we could repurpose a video out of this podcast episode, because Dan also recorded this podcast episode on camera. How cool is that, right? So now I can reply back to Augustine. I can also share this with the client, and the client can reply back to me. So you can see how Descript is really taking hold of, I believe, the future of podcast editing. So those are the main things I wanted to show you. I'm actually going to hide the comment sidebar here, and then I'll pop back in and quickly show you how I'm going to add some music, add the intro piece, the pre-recorded intro piece that Dan has recorded for us. And that's it. So if you haven't downloaded Descript yet, you should. There's a free version. You can get familiar with how it works. And then if you know that you love it and it's going to save you a lot of time, you can upgrade to Descript Pro. I will leave a link for Descript right here where you're watching this video. So just check the description or the pinned comment. All right. So I went through the whole episode and I cleaned up most of the filler words and left the ones that I liked in there. I also cleaned up a lot of long pauses and just took the time, as you can see here with all the cuts I made along the timeline at the bottom. I took some time that you should take in your podcast edits to make them really progress the story more and make it more clear, more enjoyable for your listeners. This is really important, and really anybody can press record. The podcast editing is what separates just a recorded conversation from a podcast episode. So as I promised, here's a few other things you can do in Descript, and I'll show you how I would finish up this episode. I want to add an intro piece, and for this podcast, we like to add music and bring the music in and out, create some interludes and pauses to kind of turn the interview into a little bit more of a story and to give a little bit more ear candy for the audience. So let me show you how I do that. It's really simple in Descript to add music and intros. You can just go to your Finder, and I have this music here I wanted to add as a stinger. Remember, I wanted to first have a preview of the episode come up. So I'm going to add this here by just dragging it and dropping it right here in place in Descript. And Descript will recognize that when I drag it in like that, that it's going to be music or a music track. So I can drag that up like this, and you can also make your timeline here bigger by dragging your mouse up to the top and accessing this icon, and then pulling it upwards. I like to do that when I get to this stage because then I can see things a little bit better. And now as I'm in here, I can move this over and you'll see that Descript already knew by me sliding it over that I wanted that to go in front of all of this talking here. So here, that's really good. Now the other thing you can see when I come up to the top of the timeline is that it has inserted a little music icon. Now remember how I was copying and pasting things into the highlights? Well, I did that while I was editing. So if I come back over to this highlights composition, here is a highlight that I copied and pasted that I think would be a perfect little stinger for the beginning. So I'll come back over here, press Command C for copy again, then come back into my full composition. And I'm going to come up here before the music or right around the music. And I'm going to go ahead and press Command V. And I actually want this to go on top of this. And so to get it to go on top of it, you sometimes have to zoom in and kind of play around with it a little bit to get the perfect fit that you want. So I'm going to zoom in on it and I'm going to have this little swell of music start first, and then that part comes up. And then from here, I can, what I can do to make this come to an end is I can kind of put this at the end here, and we'll do a crossfade probably between this and where the intro is going to come in. So now I can drag and put that intro in there. So I'm going to go find my intro. My intro is right here. And with this intro, now I'm going to drag that and plop that in right there as well too. And I can always adjust the volume as I see fit by right here. This is a fade in. And then here, if you control click here, you get a different option. I'm going to say add volume keyframe, and you can add these volume keyframes and this will turn, I just have one keyframe, so it will turn the whole volume of it down, but I'm going to keep the volume pretty high at the first. And right here it gives you how high it is. You can see the numbers right there. So I've got a 0.28. I'll just keep it about 0 where it was. And I'm going to add another keyframe for another volume keyframe for when he comes in talking. And I'll even come over here and add another one. Come down here like this. And we'll kind of slowly turn it down once he's talking. And let's have a listen to that and get the volume just right.
Don't think they've written too many country songs about forest management.
Okay, that's great. If you hold the shift button, that actually allows you to drag the keyframe that you created. So I will drag it all the way to the beginning like that. And then what we'll do is we'll have it fade out right after he starts talking. And now what we can also do is click here, and I'm going to see if I can get this whole thing to the first of the project. It looks like we have this bit of silence here. So I can just double click that bit of silence I created and press the delete key. And there, now we're cooking. This is looking really good. So let's listen to what that sounds like.
Don't think they've written too many.
Okay, so now I want to have the music matched up just the way I want it. I want this swell to kind of come in and then he starts talking. So I can grab this and sort of drag it to the left until I get it just where I want it, so that it starts dragging before my little stinger comes in. I'll keep dragging it, and I'd say right about there. And I can zoom in a little bit more to really fine tune it. And the song starts right about here. So I want the song to play for just a little bit, and then it will turn down. And you can see I have it turned down with the keyframes I've created. And let's have a listen to what that sounds like.
Don't think they've written too many country songs about forest management or business planning.
Okay, and then there was a little bit of a weird word there. Maybe I did something about farm business management. So we can just let that whole word be there. So you can see how easy it is if you make a little mistake to drag those words back out again. And now let's have a peep at that.
Don't think they've written too many country songs about farm business management.
Now, when the music gets louder here, I am anticipating that we're going to want to probably bring the volume of the music down even more. So I'll say add volume keyframe here as well. And then maybe I'll even add another one right about here. I like to add a lot of volume keyframes so that you can really customize the volume of the music throughout your podcast episode.
After sexy, and everyone thinks about the equipment and the lands, all the sexy stuff of farming, but I think all the country songs are written about when you don't have a good plan, like when your dog left and your wife left and you lost your tractor. And
okay, now let's see how this crossfade is going to sound here. Click on this up here and pull him over so that the crossfade is going to sound just like I want it to, like that. And you just kind of have to play around to find ways of crossfading music, just like you would in any DAW.
But we always talk about this as a group, is like, why don't more people look and get excited about these things?
Okay, why don't we actually just have this fade out?
We always talk about this as a group, is like, why don't more people look and get excited about these things?
Hey now, it's Dan Aberhart here from the Growing the Future podcast and the host of this episode.
Okay, cool. And so you can see I had our pre-recorded intro there that we pre-recorded and mixed and put together into a stereo file that we can just drag in and out of sessions. Now I can grab this and bring this right where I want it. And I like this last little sound effect we have to linger over when the episode comes in. So let's listen to that from about this point.
Form you in such a way that you can be successful going forward in the agricultural space. So let's get growing our future together.
All right, so here we are with another.
I just want to find that perfect sweet spot right there. Let's see. I think that'll sound perfect.
Whole space. So let's get growing our future together.
All right, so here we are with.
Okay, those are all the things I wanted to show you. You can make really cool audiograms, you can add music, and you can cut down on the time it takes to really clean up, and you can also collaborate. So those are really cool things. Now, if you want to get really advanced, what I like to do is take this and instead of exporting your Descript project to an MP3 to upload to your host, I actually like to export it as a Reaper file or a ProTools file. Both DAWs I really like using. You can also export it to an Adobe Audition file. And that's because I like to really fine tune the music and work with lots of different music tracks and bring them in. And I find that the editing interface in DAWs is more convenient to the one here in Descript, at least for the time being. They're always making upgrades, so I can see them making a lot of fun upgrades for multi-track and music mixing in the future. So how we would do that is I'd come here up to, you can drag up to where it says share, and from share you have the option to share the project access, so you can share this with more people. You have the option to publish, this is where you can make audiograms, or you can export, and you can export just the audio here, which would be exporting an MP3. But like I said, I'm going to export it as a ProTools file. So I would go here to ProTools, and look, if you say include media files and export, this is really cool because then you have a non-destructive editing situation once you get into Pro Tools. So you can always drag and trim out all the little cuts that you made in Descript in case some of them were a little too aggressive, and you can fine tune things even further in the DAW of your choice, which is awesome. So I'll say export there and choose a place for it. I'll go ahead and put it on the desktop, and that's it. You'll see it takes a minute to export and we're done. And there you have it, Podski. Pretty cool stuff, right? I wanted to pop in and kill two birds with one stone and show you how I incorporate Descript into working and editing with our clients' podcast. So if you found that useful, please hit the like button here. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want to try out Descript for free, I'll leave the link in the description below. Okay, happy casting.